Thanks for listening to the show today. My name is Matt Duhamel, your host of Solitary Nation. Today's discussion is about children who have had a parent in prison, more specifically with a sex offense. Believe it or not, there are 2.5 million adults in state and federal prison. 1 million are parents of minors. And on average, 2.7 million kids in the U.S. have a parent in prison at any given time, according to the Pew Charitable Trusts. With census figures showing that there are 75 million children in the U.S., that comes out to 1 in 28 children. That's the equivalent of one child in each classroom who has had a parent in prison. These statistics are startling, they are depressing, and they need to change. Today on the show, we have a very brave teenager. Her name is Chloe. She is 15 years old. And she is one of those 2.7 million children in the U.S. To go along with the prison sentence of her father, now the family is dealing with the effects of him being placed on the sex offender registry. Chloe, thanks for taking the time out of your evening and being on the show tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, Chloe, you have been affected by a parent in prison, which was your father. Since then, he's been released, which is awesome news.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all agree on that one. I guess the first question I'd like to ask you, Chloe, is kind of go through that day. I know a lot of this may be difficult to talk about, and that's why I really appreciate you coming on, and your story can help a lot of other children's and teens that have been affected by parental incarceration. When was your dad arrested? How old were you?
I was 10, so it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Kind of take me back through that day a little bit.
Well, he had been like in jail like a couple times before that, but like we kind of like bailed him out. And so like the last time it happened, I remember my mom was like getting really upset with my dad, and they were having like a fight. And so like when that normally happened, we'd take me and my older brother, we would take my little sister and go to like a bedroom and like shut the door and like so we wouldn't have to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And like we walked out there cuz I'm crying cuz like I don't like it. Like nobody does. And
Of course.
there's like police officers there, and it's like just all kind of like what's going on. And so my mom just like took me and my siblings like in the car, and we drive back like by our house like minutes later, and I can see him getting into the police car, and it's really emotional because like that's my dad and they're arresting him and I don't know why. And it's really upsetting, but that's really like what I remember from that.
How do you look back on that day as a defining moment in your life?
Honestly, like when it first like happened, like I was ashamed to like go to school cuz like Pekin puts those things in the newspapers, and it was really upsetting, and it was honestly embarrassing. But like now I just look back and I'm like that kind of like it really affected my life, but it's I don't know, I think it's like helped me because like I don't judge other people. Like if they had told me that their dad was in prison, like if my dad hadn't gone to prison, like I would have been, oh, that's really weird. Like that's I don't know, like
Scary or something like that.
yeah. I would probably judge them, but now I don't judge people.
It's affected your life, and you've walked in those shoes, and so when someone else talks about it, you can relate and you have empathy and compassion for that person. How long was your dad incarcerated for?
For quite a while. For 5 years, I might have been actually 9. I like it was really close, like around my birthday, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
Happy birthday. No, I don't think so.
no.
So it's my understanding that this was a sex offense. And so that brings a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of shame sometimes to the family and to the child
Yeah.
affected. Is that something that you faced when he was incarcerated? And now.
Yeah, I still like one of my friends, like, she goes, "Well, I know what your dad did." And she said, "And you're okay with that?" And it just blew my mind. I was like, I didn't know people could be so like rude and open and like just said what they felt. And it really like was kind of hard because like it's someone I really trusted.
I
It's not a
understand.
good thing.
No, I understand. How did you lose friends over your dad's arrest and incarceration?
Yeah, since I go to a smaller school, like everybody knew. And some of the parents would just look at me different or look at my family weird. And I'm like involved in sports. So when I would go to like sport events, like I wasn't like parents would go up and like high five other kids. I was the kid like no parent like really went up to.
Do you think they acted that way because your dad was arrested and went to jail, or was it because of the sex offense?
Um I think they judged it because it was a sex offense.
Yeah. So how did that make you feel when you lost some friends and people were kind of looking at you strange?
Just really hurt. Like I just remember that period of just kind of like it really hurt, and I would go home and I like, why would this happen to me? I haven't done anything wrong. Like it's just like I remember just crying a lot because I wasn't the one who did anything wrong, and somehow it felt like I was getting punished.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, it happens a lot. I think it's just because people don't know how to react or something. It's unfortunate. If you could choose one word or several words to describe your dad's incarceration and arrest, what would it be?
It would have to be some horrible word because it was honestly the worst time of my life. Like when we'd go visit him, the guards would be awful to us. And sometimes we'd wait an hour before we could even go in and see him. It was so unbelievably hard.
Can you give me an example of how they mistreated you, the guards?
Um, well, like one time we went in and they told me that my leggings, like I can't wear leggings. And I was like, I'm a kid, like, and I'm really upset because this lady gets to go in and she's wearing a tight skirt, and I'm just in leggings, and it kind of like it was really unfair. And then they would pat you down. It made me really
Hmm.
uncomfortable. They would like laugh at us or give us weird looks.
What are some of the things that you guys talked about when you visited your dad?
Since I'm still really big into sports, I would tell him like my basketball games or things he couldn't really be there to see. So like if I was on honor roll, I would tell him about that, or we would play a card game, or just tell funny stories. And it's really all we could do to like just kind of keep up.
Sure. So
Yeah.
you visited him. What else did you do? Did you have phone calls at all?
We got an 1 hour, I think, per week on the phone. If that's correct, I don't know. Which and it still like charged us
Hmm.
for that hour. I really didn't like those phone calls because I right in an hour it would click off. Like you couldn't like have like maybe 2 extra seconds to say goodbye. It was off. And I remember talking to him one time and all of a sudden it was off. It was really upsetting because I was like telling him about my day and then all of a sudden I can't talk
Mm.
to him anymore.
Yeah, so no closure or anything. That must be frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
Did it affect your, sleep? Did it affect your day-to-day life at all?
I would like be distracted. I couldn't really focus on my tests. And like at night, I just, I got really bad anxiety from it. So I started not being able to sleep at night. And that was really tough because, um, I just like no, it felt like nobody was there. So I was like not focusing on school and my homework. So I was doing kind of
Yeah.
poor in school.
It's common actually to suffer from anxiety. What I've read and some statistics that I've read, children of the incarcerated parents do suffer a lot from anxiety, and I, of course, probably from the fear and the inability to get him out or help him? Were you ever really angry at your dad for doing what he did?
Yeah, I would say I was for a while actually. Um, cuz when I was younger, I didn't like get the full story and I was really upset with him. I was like, "Why would you do that? Like, you're supposed to be here protecting us and helping us. And, like now we're left all alone to like struggle and try to pick up the pieces. Like what are we supposed to do
Yeah.
now?"
So you felt, I guess, kind of, you felt abandoned.
Yeah.
Was there, or I should say, is there a positive outcome from this for you personally, from everything that's happened?
Well, honestly, out of all this, it's kind of like pushed me to be more open to people and just go up to them and talk to people I normally wouldn't talk to because nobody else really knew what was going on in my life. And I felt alone in what I was going through. But like now I know that I'm not alone. Like there are so many other people that I could have talked to or reached
Mhm.
out to. Now I'm just so much more like outgoing and positive.
I've met your mother and you at the International Family Prisoners Conference a couple years ago, which was great.
I really liked how we would like go to rooms, I guess, and we would just like talk. Like that was my favorite part because I saw all these other people who had either experienced what I was going like what I went through or like were going through the same thing.
How did that make you feel knowing that there were people and kids just like you?
Yeah. It made me so much happier because I'm like I'm not the only person that like has gone through this.
Let's get to the day when your dad was released. First of all, when was that?
It was on August 23rd.
How were you feeling the night before?
I actually cried the night before because I was so happy, but I couldn't be there to like give him a hug, be like, like we're finally out, like we can see each other more now. And but I was also kind of sad because I'm like, well, like it's been this way, like it's like I was accustomed to like going and at least getting to see like him every week for 4 hours. And then I was told that I wasn't gonna be able to see him for like 6 months, no contact at
Oh
all.
boy. Since your dad has a sex offense, there are some restrictions. So it's
Hmm.
not just him coming out of the prison gates and you running into his
Yeah,
arms. We would love to have that happen, of course. We see that in movies, and
yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't happen in your situation. But how long has it been since he's been released?
It's been a little over a year and like 4 or 5 months.
Okay, great, great news. So you're able to see your dad now.
Yeah, they told us 6 months, but it ended up being a year, so we got to see him on Thanksgiving.
So let me get this straight. You didn't see your dad at all, face to face, for a year after after he was released.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, that must have been very difficult.
It was really frustrating because I was told I would see him, and then they kept telling us, no, no, you're not going to be able to see him.
Was that the counselors telling you that, or the probation officer?
It was, I think it was both because he has to go to a group, like a class every week.
So you're seeing him now, which is great. Tell me a little bit about the first time that you saw him after he was released.
It was, we just kind of like, we hugged for a long time. We just had a big family hug, and there were quite a bit of tears, happy ones though. And it was, it just kind of felt like the world didn't like nothing else mattered. Like I didn't care that like my hair was messy. Like I didn't care about any of that. Like I'm getting to see my dad.
Sure, you didn't have your nails done or anything. You just like, I want to hug my dad right now.
Yeah.
You saw him in prison, but you hadn't seen him for a year. So that's, I mean, to be free and to be able to hug your dad without any, guard saying, back off, that must have been amazing.
Oh yeah.
How is your dad doing today with everything? Is he doing well?
Yeah, he actually he got a job. Like and it's like um since he's a Christian, um he got like a job and his manager's a Christian, and I don't know, like something about the job is just like really nice for him, and it just fits him so well and it keeps him busy.
So, how is your relationship with your dad today?
Um it's a little bit like, I mean, it's not what it used to be because I don't know, we just had so much lost time. He still considers me like a younger kid, and I consider myself a little bit older than that. But we just like to laugh, and we like to mess with each other and joke around.
Well, yeah, that is tough when he had missed, a good chunk of your growing up years. And, unfortunately, I think that I was incarcerated myself. And I have a daughter who is 20. Is she 20 or 21? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I hope she's not listening. I think she's 20, but we have a good relationship. But yeah, it's, when I talk to my own daughter and see her when I can, I kind of see her as a young child too, because it happened when she was 8 years old when I was arrested. And so it's hard on the father's side to, you know, see their child as almost an adult. In your case, you're 15. So it'll take time. And I'm glad that you guys are rebuilding your relationship and you kept in touch when he was incarcerated. What advice would you give children and other teens that have a parent in prison? It doesn't matter what the offense is. Let's just say the parent's in prison, the father's in prison, or mother. What advice would you give them?
I would tell him to just keep your head up and don't, it doesn't matter what like other people say about you, you're going to get through it. And there's always someone out there that can talk to you or you can talk to, whether it be like a counselor at school or a sibling or close trusted friend, but maybe even a teacher. Just talk to someone because it really does help.
We've all seen the media reports on registered sex offenders, or what I would prefer saying, registered citizens. The negative media about people on the list, the registry. How does that make you feel when you hear those things?
It's understandable, but I view it as really unnecessary because they're human beings too. It, like, they've done something wrong, but it's not like you haven't messed up yourself. Like, everyone is messed up, and it's like he just had a greater consequence. People just have more consequences, and because maybe what they did was more severe.
Sure, you're a very strong person to get through all this and to help your mom and your brother and sister. Very admirable. How do you think he's feeling today, knowing that everything's over except for having to register, which is a big deal?
Well, I'd say he's like happy to be out, but I know he's still bummed out. Like, he's still missing like a lot of my life, and he tells me all the time he's so sorry that he had to miss out on that, and if he could go back he would do things so much differently. And it was, all of it was really hard.
Would it be fair to say that you forgive your dad completely?
I don't know about completely, but I'm really working on it. I It's just really hard to forgive him sometimes because I'm still kind of upset, but like I know I need to forgive him because it was, everybody, like I said, everyone messes up, but I wouldn't say that I completely forgive him.
Yeah. I guess you could say you can try to forgive him. Of course, you're not going to forget what happened and you don't have to agree with what happened. But some form of forgiveness is wonderful, and of course, that's on your own time. You don't want to force it or anything like that. What do you see happening in the next year or two with you and your dad and your relationship?
I'd see us be probably, hopefully, being able to like see him more, and I hope I just get closer to him like I used to be, because I really want that back.
Well, Chloe, thank you so much for coming on Solitary Nation. I have never talked to a teenager who has been affected by parental incarceration, so I really appreciate your time, and you're just brave, and I want you to know that. And I'm sure this conversation hopefully will reach out to children and teens that are in the same situation, and hopefully it'll help them out.
All right, thank you.
If you are dealing with your dad or mom's incarceration and you are looking for some answers, some help, you can see the website on the screen. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll want to go to sesamestreetincommunities.org/topics/incarceration. And in my conversation with Chloe, we had mentioned that we had both went to the International Family Prisoners Conference. Great conference. And that is a wonderful resource. You can check out their website, prisonersfamilyconference.org. Thanks again to Chloe for coming on the show and being brave and telling her story and helping other children who have been affected by incarceration. Thanks for listening. My name is Matt Duhamel, your host for Solitary Nation. Join me next time when we have another story about America's broken criminal justice system.